Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday message for, oh my gosh, the 2nd of July of 2023. Today's talk title is entitled Spiritual Understanding and How Growing Spiritually Affects Our Bodies. But before I begin today's lesson, I would like to ask everyone to do something for themselves. To make an appointment with your dermatologist. Friday, I went in for just a full body scan, not thinking anything was going to be wrong, but just to check. And what I ended up is that I had several cancerous spots taken off my nose, on my face, on my legs. They were different types of cancer. And then I had several places on my hands, my arms, my chest, and face frozen off. None of these spots I even gave a thought to, and I wouldn't have known that they were cancerous or precancerous areas. So if you have insurance, I'm just asking you to please put it to good use and just make that appointment for yourself. We don't know what's going on with these bodies. So better to just be safe than sorry. That's all. So all that being said, today we are going to look at the next two chapters in the book, Lessons in Truth. This is our fourth class, if you will, on the book. And today I will be talking about what spiritual understanding is and give you a little insight into how our bodies can react when we really do start to move along our path of opening ourselves up to higher and higher spiritual energies. Proverbs chapter 3, 13 to 18 reads, "Happy are those who find wisdom and those who get understanding, for her income is better than silver and her revenue better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you can desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, and her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her, and those who hold her fast are called happy." And chapter 4, verse 7 says, "And whatever else you get insight." So just what is spiritual understanding? Emily Cady calls it a spiritual birth, a revelation of God within the heart of man. And this is something that we can't touch or feel. It's something that can't be explained. It's an inner knowing. It's an inner understanding that's felt at the depth of our being, that we are all one, that you're not separate from anything, that every thought you think is affecting the world around you in an energetic way that's not comprehended by the everyday normal person. No matter how hard anybody tries to explain it to you, you just can't get it until you have an actual experience of you as God, God as you. I can sit here this morning and look at, here into the computer and tell you that God is in you as you, that giving and receiving are one. And the more you give, the more you open to receive. I can sit here and tell you that you're not healing your body, but your body is healing because you, as the element of God, is health itself. But until you have something happen inside, call it a quickening, as Fillmore calls it, call it the rays of the Kundalini inside, as some of the Eastern masters say. Call it whatever you want to call it, but until you have that spiritual awakening inside of you, there's nothing anybody can say to assist you to really understand fully what all this means. We can understand intellectually and it can feel right. There can be a part of us that just goes, this makes sense. But there comes a moment in every person's life who is really, truly searching for the truth that it moves beyond that. It's like a switch happens inside and the light goes on, and there's a knowingness and an understanding that wasn't there before. All the teachings of Jesus were for the specific purpose of leading people into this consciousness, this set consciousness of their oneness with God, with Source. And Jesus's teachings were about telling people how they could find the kingdom of heaven within themselves. And Katie calls it the kingdom of love, of peace, and of life. John chapter 14, verse 12 states, "The one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact, will do greater works than these." First Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 reads, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you?" And here Jesus was trying to tell the people that God was not outside of them, but the fullness of God was inside each and every one of us. Katie wrote, "I cannot reveal God to you. You cannot reveal God to another. I can tell you how to seek and find God within yourself, but the new birth into the consciousness of our spiritual faculties and possibilities takes place in the silence of your own being." She wrote that understanding or realization of the presence of God within us comes to everyone who learns how to seek it correctly. And of course, by correctly, it means spending more time in meditation, connecting with God's source. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 13 reads, "When you search for me, you will find me if you seek me with all your heart." So Katie wrote, if a person needs a healing and has learned how to take that desired gift by uncompromising affirmation that it's theirs already, they will get understanding or realization of God as their perfect health. So as with any other desired gift from God, this is a step in the right direction. And it's learning how to take God by faith for whatever one desires. But in the outward growth, the time will come to every person when they will hear the divine voice within them saying, "Come up higher." And they'll pass beyond, all the selfish desires that, are just there for our own comfort's sake. And that person will begin to desire the good, that they can have more to give out, knowing that as good or God flows through them to others, it will make them whole. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 reads, "For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake, choosing before all things the findings of God in his own soul, will find it." This spiritual understanding that we're talking about doesn't come all at once, and hopefully it will come at a peaceful and easy, slow, and perfect pace. It takes time to slowly move our attention off the outer world around us and put it into God more and more. We don't go from one day thinking about our finances, the health of our body, poor relationships, whatever it is that we've been focused on in the outside world, to turn into that aspect within us, giving thanks and praise to the God within. To always have one part of our mind focused on the God within while we go about our daily lives doing whatever it is that we're doing. So as we begin to put God first more and more in our thoughts, we begin to find that aspects of anger, jealousies, the ills of our body, and a lot of other things begin to move to our affirming health for everything around us. We begin to affirm forgiveness for those who have hurt us and to claim love and peace in situations where we would normally become frustrated and irritated. And at first this can be a mental exercise. And then one day you realize it's not your mind doing it, it's your whole being, your whole body. It's your heart expanding. And you can sense your chakras expanding. And as Katie wrote, and while you are using the words of truth, they will suddenly be illumined. And because to you, the living word within you becomes real. Or as John chapter 1, verse 9 reads, the true light which enlightens everyone was coming into the world. At that point is when you will become very conscious of the new and higher energies in your body, which is actually a new divine love and compassion for all people. And this is spiritual understanding. As 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17 reads, everything old has passed away and everything has become new. You know, one of the things that happens to a lot of people who begin to shift their attention from the outer world to the inner world to make that connection with God, with Source, is that they try to make it all happen at one time. And that's like taking the bud of a rose and trying to open it up to be in full bloom. That rose isn't ready, and you just end up destroying it. So as each and every rose comes up and unfolds in a gentle, peaceful way to become the fullness of the bloom that it was meant to be, we also have to just allow ourselves to do this process as our high divinity knows it can be done without destroying us. And when I say destroy us, it means that when we begin to shift our attention from the outer world to the inner world and more to God, we are actually changing the whole physical structure of this physical body. Now, these bodies hold energy inside. Our bodies are holding on to the angers and resentments and animosities and fear and judgment and all of those other emotions that we have incorporated into us over however many decades we've been alive. And when we begin to shift our thinking and our feeling natures to be being present with God more and more inside of us, all of those cells have to release all those energies, those beliefs, those feelings. And in order to take in the light and the love of God that is now becoming more and more present within us. And all that sounds fine, except that what can happen is that as we begin to introduce more light into the cells, the old energies of anger and animosity, whatever, has to come out. It's like taking a glass filled with mud and you start pouring clean water into it. Well, clean water doesn't come out right away. You have muddy water that's coming out, getting cleared out. So if we've held on to real beliefs of sickness or lack in our lives, those beliefs and energy of sickness and lack are going to come and rise to the surface. Our whole lives might seem to be in turmoil, and all of a sudden we have sicknesses rising, extra bills coming in, old jealousies rise to the surface, frustration and irritation with anything and everything around us rises to the surface. And that's when we begin to wonder what in the heck is going on. You know, I'm bringing in all this light and love, and my life has ended up in absolute chaos. And sometimes that moves us to give up the spiritual path and go back to however we were before. And what we don't realize that all that chaos going on in us and around us is actually a cleaning out of all the old patterns and beliefs in our lives. And that's why I say, take time with all of this. Allow Source to just come in its peaceful, gentle way and gently move energies around you at a pace that you can actually deal with them. You know, how much better would it be to have, let's say, jealousy from the past come up in a slow, easy way that you can recognize that you're feeling jealous, but you know that it's not anything of today. And that's when you can use your denials and affirmations saying, this is not a truth of my being anymore. The truth of my being is that the love and light of God flows through me to everyone. And, having some sickness come back again that was from decades ago, if it's just a gentle case of this, it gives you the opportunity to deny its power over you and affirm that only the light and love of God as pure health radiates in your body. And this way, you don't fight the illness, you don't fight the jealousy, you don't fight the sudden extra bill that comes up. You know, you don't fight anything. You just allow whatever's coming up to come up and to just be. You deny its truth and its power over you, and you just affirm the truth of your being, that only the love and light of God flows in you, as you, and through you, dissolving everything that is unlike real truth. And this is what the process that everybody goes through when we start moving out of our minds and thoughts and feelings to a more Christ-centered way. Emily Cady calls this process chemicalization, because our bodies are chemically changing. And in going through this process, our bodies are actually changing into a higher and greater frequency for life on this planet. And if we can understand that as we meditate more, and as we turn our thoughts more and more to the God within, and as we seek a greater awareness of the presence of Source in our lives, that these things may happen, then they don't have to be that challenging. They don't happen to everybody, in a huge, terrifying degree, because for most people, especially now because of the higher energies on the planet, many of these emotions, beliefs, feelings are very much on the surface and can be transmuted and transformed very quickly and easily. But it's an important thing to bring up so that we become aware that as we do begin to meditate more, read more things on spirit, walk more in the path of the Christ, these things may happen. And when we're aware that something may happen, it takes the fear of it away. If you're going out to cultivate a garden and you have all your tools with you, and you know that there is a specific spot in that garden where the ground is going to be very hard and it's going to take a lot of work to get it tilled up, you're not afraid of it. You're actually not even concerned about it. You're not worried about it. You already have all your tools with you, so that when you come to that spot, you just take a deep breath and go, okay, I've got the tools, I can handle this. And spiritually speaking, you've already been given the tools over the last sessions that I've done. And now is the time to just actually begin using them, and using them before it becomes that necessary. The secret is, if you begin to use your denials and affirmations, you're claiming the presence and power of God within you for all things, giving thanks and praise to the Spirit of the Christ within you. As these things come up, they are automatically dissolved and transmuted back to life. This weekend we are celebrating our country's 4th of July. It's a celebration on the freedom of our country from tyranny and oppression. How beautiful is it that this is the weekend that Spirit chose to have me speak of spiritual understanding and what can happen to our bodies as we gain a higher and higher perspective of life. This lesson in itself is actually a celebration of freedom from our own personal attachment to the world and the things of this world. This is the freedom in life that we all desire. The freedom to truly know and be fully connected with our one source, God. We are being given a chance to claim our freedom from all ills, lack, limitation of any sort, and claim the fullness of the Christ force energy inside of us. So thank you all for listening to this today. And may you have a beautiful and wonderful celebration of our 4th of July. So peace be with you, and God bless.